Audrey and Jayne Meadows were known as a pair of sisters who were gifted with beauty, talent, and Hollywood success. And for much of their careers, they got along great. But not long after Audrey finished her famous stint on the classic sitcom The Honeymooners, the two sisters had a falling out. Join Factsverse as we look at the reasons Audrey Meadows hated her own sister for years. Audrey Meadows was born in Manhattan in 1922. Her birth name was Audrey Cotter, and she was the youngest of 4 children, born to Reverend Francis James Meadows Cotter and Ida Miller Taylor. Her parents were Episcopal missionaries who spent time spreading the gospel in China, which is where the first 3 kids were born. But they had moved back to the U.S. by the time Audrey was born. She was shipped off to Massachusetts to attend boarding school at the Barrington School for Girls. After she finished, she dove into fully pursuing a career in entertainment. She managed to land a role in a Broadway musical called Top Banana. She honed her craft on stage before turning her attention to TV acting. Her first big gig was as a regular on The Bob and Ray Show. Before long, she was able to land the role that changed her life forever, as Alice Cramden on The Jackie Gleason Show and then The Honeymooners. She was, quote, too pretty to play Alice. Before Ralph and Alice Cramden were cracking up audiences across the country in The Honeymooners, the characters appeared on The Jackie Gleason Show, and before Audrey was even considered for the role of Alice, another actress was given the role. Pert Kelton had auditioned for Alice and was set to play her for as many years as possible, but she was suddenly fired from the gig in 1952. While the studio released a statement that she was suffering from health issues, the reality is Pert was being blacklisted as part of the infamous anti-communist blacklist era in Hollywood. So that left a hole in casting. Audrey heard about the opening and lobbied hard to get the part. She was clearly a talented performer who could handle playing opposite comedic powerhouse Jackie Gleason. However, when Meadows initially auditioned in person for Gleason, he had an objection to her taking over the role. He felt she was too pretty. He figured audiences wouldn't buy a guy like Ralph Cramden snagging a gorgeous woman for a wife. But Audrey had other ideas. She knew if she dressed down and didn't appear in a glamorous getup, she'd have a better chance. So she had a photographer come to her house and take photos of her right as she got out of bed. She had on ratty clothes and no makeup. She stood in her own kitchen holding a frying pan. Clearly, she looked a lot more plain than she had in her dolled-up audition appearance. Reportedly, when Gleason saw this new photograph the next day, Audrey looked so different, Gleason assumed he was looking at a photo of a different actress. He reportedly took one look at this new photo and gave her the part, exclaiming, "She's Alice." Before we tell you more, be sure to give this video a like and subscribe to Factsverse if you haven't already. Jayne Meadows. Audrey's sister Jayne was born Jayne Cotter in 1919. Unlike her sister, she was born while her family was still living in China as missionaries. After moving back to the U.S., the family settled in Sharon, Connecticut, due to her brother being named to a position in a local church. But Jayne wanted to leave the family business behind and become a star. And before long, she began to live out those dreams. She initially found mild success in films, appearing in Undercurrent, which starred Katharine Hepburn, as well as Song of the Thin Man with William Powell and Myrna Loy, and David and Bathsheba with Gregory Peck and Susan Hayward. In 1948, she starred in the movie Enchantment and even won the Cosmopolitan Award for Finest Dramatic Performance the following year for that role. After finding a decent amount of film success, she shifted her focus to television. She was in an episode of Suspense, acting alongside Walter Matthau. She also began appearing on panel shows as herself. These included regular stints on a show called I've Got a Secret and occasional appearances on What's My Line. What's notable about her What's My Line appearances is they were alongside her husband, Steve Allen. This pairing went on to work together more often in later years, including live appearances in Las Vegas, which at the time was beginning to gain a reputation as a place for live entertainment. Even into the 1990s, the two were still occasionally seen together on TV. They played an elderly couple in Homicide: Life on the Street, for example, and were on Diagnosis: Murder as an older couple as well. This latter appearance was in 1999, and it turned out to be Steve Allen's final one, as he died in 2000. Their marriages. Jayne, as we just mentioned, married Steve Allen. Allen was a legendary figure in the world of television entertainment. He was known as a comedian and actor, as well as a musician and radio personality. But he was most notable for having co-created The Tonight Show, on which he was the first ever host. The two had a solid relationship, but not without issues. For example, Allen was a staunch Democrat, while Jayne was a staunch Republican. They even clashed sometimes when it came to career decisions. Reportedly, when Alan asked Meadows to play the role of Cleopatra in a show he was doing called Meeting of the Minds, Jayne wasn't into it. But Alan basically gave her an ultimatum, saying he wasn't sure how their marriage could continue if she refused the part. Audrey's marriage was also to a very successful man. She married Richard Six, who was the president of Continental Airlines, in 1961. The two got hitched in Hawaii and were married until Six died in 1986. It was a lucrative decision on Audrey's part, as she reportedly became a millionaire from the marriage. The Meadows Sisters. While many siblings who find dual success in Hollywood are supportive of each other and have a great relationship, the same can't be said for Audrey and Jayne Meadows. For whatever reasons, the two women tended to be jealous of the other's success. Perhaps it was a sibling rivalry that began before their Hollywood careers, or perhaps it was triggered by the successes each was having as they broadened their Hollywood career journey. Regardless, the jealousy between the two was inflamed when both women got married. It was said that Jayne and Audrey constantly thought of themselves as rivals. In the book The Lucy Book, author Jeffrey Mark Feidelman said one big problem was Audrey constantly made it seem like she was the bigger star, and this ruffled Jayne's feathers a lot. The two sisters continued their petty rivalry for years. While it's not known whether or not it was made worse by the men in their lives, it did coincide with the period where they were both married. But reportedly, after Robert Six died, the two put their rivalry aside and became friends again. So it's possible there was an element about Audrey's marriage to him that inflamed the issues between the two sisters. Either way, after 1986, the Meadows sisters became close again and were reportedly on good terms for the later stages of their lives. Their deaths. Audrey Meadows died February 3, 1996. She was a heavy smoker and had been diagnosed with lung cancer. She fell into a coma at a hospital in LA and died the next day. Jayne, on the other hand, was a very active senior citizen until the end, though she fell and fractured her hip in 2009, and that seemed to signal the end of her public appearances. But she lived a long and full life, finally dying April 26, 2015, of natural causes at 95. Now it's time to hear from you. Are you a fan of the Meadows sisters? Do you think siblings in Hollywood should always try to put personal beef aside and support each other? Let us know in the comments section below. And before you go, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to Factsverse if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content.